Hello, everybody. Welcome inside another episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. It's a Wednesday, which you know what that means. In the winter, it's Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Althiser. He's to my right. We have Scotty Minter down in the bottom right. And then we are wasting no time. We are joined by two state champions, both from Garrettsville, Garfield, Keegan and Hunter Andel. Boys, thanks for coming on with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
You got it. I guess the first obvious question to get it out of the way is, you're the first state champions in your school's history. How's it feel to kind of come home and hold up that trophy and celebrate it with your community?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I guess I would first. Yeah, it feels great. It's really special, and it's a great thing just to have our whole school and our community kind of behind our backs and motivating us and pushing us. But I don't know. How did you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it felt great doing it for the school too. We had so much support this year. I mean, we got letters from students. We had teachers come down and watch us. So, I mean, that definitely felt good to get that done for them.
So you guys both were state placers last year, and I'm sure that your number one goal was to get the top of the podium, and you did that. So every week we have wrestlers on here, and the first thing I always ask is, who is your drill partner? Do you guys drill with each other? Every good wrestler has a good drill partner or partners. Do you guys, are your go-tos each other?
Yeah, we pretty much drill with each other all season.
Do you feel like having each other, pushing each other the whole time really helped you get to the top?
100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'd say so. Because, I mean, we figure each other out so much in the practice room too. So we get so good at, like, stopping moves that we hit. So when we see people who hit those moves, we know exactly how to stop them and all that sort of stuff. So,
right. And we kind of have to, like, use new setups at practice too, and, like, work on new things that we usually are comfortable with. And I think that makes us grow a lot too, just because we know each other so well and we've been wrestling each other since we were so young. And it just definitely helped us grow so much.
So, Hunter, let's talk about your match first. Since you won the first one, then Keegan followed you up. You wrestled the guy that you were very familiar with. I think it was the third time you wrestled him this year. You wrestled him in the district championship as well. What was it like going in and once you knew it was him and you realized that how hard this match was going to be, and knowing that it was someone that there were no secrets with? I mean, you knew what he does, he knows what you do, right. And it's basically just who's better in that given day.
Right. Yeah, I knew it was going to be close no matter what. I think we've wrestled 7 times throughout our career, and I think after every time we've wrestled, it's gotten a little bit closer and closer just because their school knows my style very well, and they did a lot of homework and studying on me over my high school career. And I think I knew no matter what, it was going to be close, but I had enough confidence, and I knew if I got one takedown on him, that was going to be the match.
You got that one takedown after a scoreless two. First two were scoreless, and then you had the early score in the third, and then the takedown to seal it. So when it was over and it was done, how did that feel to kind of have all that weight off your shoulders and just celebrate being a state champion?
Yeah, it felt really good. There's really no other feeling like it. I think both of us, we've wrestled in a lot of very big tournaments over the course of our careers and in season and out of season. And it really feels good being on the top of a tournament, especially like the state tournament, because it really doesn't get much bigger than that.
And Keegan, you had to watch him, so you were up next. What was it like to watch him win it and then have to go out and kind of follow him up?
Well, so we were sitting in the tunnel, so it's kind of hard to see him because his mat was way on the other side of the arena. But I mean, it was definitely got me more excited, especially seeing him win and show some excitement. So I mean, it definitely motivated me more and our coaches to go out there and just hopefully just get another one. So.
Let's talk about your match. I mean, you scored really quickly. It was unlike Hunter's where it was a defensive battle of first rounds. You scored quickly, you get on top, and then you kind of finish it out in the final round. Your speed has been getting you through matches all year. What do you kind of contribute that speed to and that ability to make moves so quick?
Well, our coach really implements speed into our workouts and our drilling and all that sort of stuff. We do a lot of footwork drills. And then especially wrestling guys like Hunter in practice. I mean, you got to be fast to take down him. And not even just because he's a little bit lighter than me, but he's so fast himself that, I mean, I got to be quick, to stop his attacks and make my attacks work. So definitely wrestling with him really helps that out. So.
So Hunter, you wrestled Cody Kuntz. He's a great wrestler from Rootstown. I'd imagine you guys probably wrestled a bunch in your life.
Right.
When you got two good guys wrestling, and one seems to always come out on top, what usually happens is the other guy starts to get closer and closer and closer. Right. And with this one, I mean, do you get a little bit of, your mindset has to be, I've got to change things up because this guy is getting better and knowing what I'm doing. He's getting closer and closer, and that kid's great on his feet. He's a takedown master. So did you change anything up for this match being the biggest one of your career?
Yeah, I knew he was waiting for, I think my best attack is my double leg, and I knew he was going to be waiting for it the whole time. And I think he wrestles me a lot different than he wrestles a lot of his opponents because he knows if he comes out attacking, I'm looking for reattacks, I'm ready. So I definitely had to change up a lot of things. I think I got on a single leg quite a few times during the match. And I did during that match, I think I did a good job with just my defense was really what won me the match because if he couldn't get on my legs or he got on my legs once and couldn't score, then that was kind of the difference because I think on the mat, I'm a lot better than him in certain positions. And we didn't really get a chance to wrestle on the mat just because he knows me so well. And I think I worked on my defense a lot, and I knew that's what was going to win me that match.
Keegan, you moved up. I think you were at 75 last year. Is that right?
Yeah,
you
correct.
Moved up to 190 this year. Did you notice that maybe there wasn't as much scoring? Did you have to rely more on your strength this season compared to in the past? So you hit it to 190. You're in the heavier weights. Most of these guys are the scores are usually lower, and the strength you can see a difference. Did you notice that this season, especially at the state tournament?
Yeah, especially at the beginning of the year, I struggled a little bit because most of my matches, like you said, were a lot closer than I was hoping them to be. And later on in the year, I realized that, it was going to be so much harder to turn kids and pin kids and get back points and that sort of thing. So I had to rely on, like you said, speed and takedowns. And just because once you get up here to the heavier weights, everybody's strong. So it's just that much harder to turn somebody over and all that stuff. So I definitely did struggle with it at the beginning of the year. And definitely got in my head and bothered me. But, about halfway through January-ish for the year, I finally realized, these scores are just going to be the scores are going to be closer. So, once I got that down, I was all right with it. So.
All right, so you both can answer this next question. Obviously, you went into that weekend with no state championships in your program. Now you have two. What do you think this kind of does for the future of Garfield wrestling and the kids that watch you guys do that and want to be the next Garfield state champion? What do you think it does for this program going forward?
Yeah, we actually don't even have a wrestling room or anything. So hopefully after this, we have we got a good youth program. We got a lot of kids coming up, but I think hopefully, the school is very supportive of us, but hopefully in the future we can get a wrestling room. And I think my dad and Keegan's dad, the coaches, they're doing a really good job at building the program. And I think it just it gives the younger kids something to chase after. And since they've seen it, and it just gives people more hope and more, I think, maybe more encouragement to wrestle.
Yeah, I agree with what Hunter said. We have some great coaches too who work with the youth and middle school program. So we definitely have some good middle school wrestlers coming up and some youth wrestlers coming up to middle school. So that's always exciting to see, and hopefully they stick with it and just, work as hard, try to be. Hopefully they do better than we do. So with the wrestling room, we make do with what we have. Definitely be nice to have one. So give those kids an opportunity to have that. So.
Not having a wrestling room, that's a great segue into the next question. That just goes to show you what you really need is drive to be successful in wrestling. And anybody that's ever wrestled knows that. But you guys not having a wrestling room, you guys practicing in the cafeteria or is it a room at the school?
Yeah, we do. We practice in the elementary school gym. So we roll the mats out on the tile every day and then roll them up. And it's doesn't get much hotter than 60 degrees in there. So it's not the best conditions, but we were able to work hard enough that it didn't really matter.
That's where champions are forged, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You brought it up that your dad, the head coach, Hunter, and he was the one that was able to put the medal around your neck. Talk about that moment and what it was like to share that moment with not just your coach, but your father as well.
Yeah, it was really special, and I know just as much as I wanted to win the state title, I know he did too. I mean, my whole life, he's been running me around to wrestling tournaments all the way since we were little, and even Keegan's dad would drive us up to Bad Karma in Pennsylvania. So they've done a lot for us, and it was a really special moment to be able to share our goals with our fathers and have them there for us when we succeeded.
So you guys, plans for after high school? Are you guys staying together? Are you going to wrestle in college? Do you have other plans? What are you going to do now?
So I signed last fall to Kent State University for wrestling. So I'll be continuing my career there. You're still a junior.
Yeah, I have a little bit of time, but I'm running out of time. But I'm struggling to decide between football and wrestling. I mean, whenever there's a better opportunity for, I'll take it. So I mean, we'll see. We'll just see what comes in the next couple months. So.
All right, Scotty always brings a great question to these interviews. Scotty, I know you're itching to ask these two a great one. What do you got on your mind today?
Definitely. I got a two-parter for both of you guys. Number one, I just wanted to know for the younger wrestlers out there, even in your program or wherever, and anybody watching this show right now, what's the one, if you could pinpoint one thing, what's the one piece of advice you would give a younger wrestler coming up right now that isn't in high school yet? And then the other thing is also, how much more gratifying is it when you're on the mat and you can taste that victory against the opponent, like you guys both tasted that state title? How much more gratifying is it being able to do it in a sport where you don't have somebody else to kind of pick you up if things are going wrong?
Good question. I think one piece of advice I'd give the younger wrestlers is, especially when you get into high school and if you're trying to be the best you can be, wrestling is a really tough sport. So a lot of the times it's going to suck and it's not going to be fun all the time, but you just have to learn to almost like embrace the struggle and like suffering and then learn how to use it as like motivation. So like all the hard practices and all the extra workouts that you put in throughout your career, you got to flip back and look back on those and use those as motivation going into your matches and just being able to use that to give you confidence.
Yeah, and then the piece of advice I would give, kind of going off Hunter's, is basically just make it through that practice. Personally, I don't like practice. There's definitely days that are worse than others, but if you just got to make it through that practice. Don't quit. Just keep wrestling. Just get it over with. However long your practice is, it'll be over. You just keep going through those practices, and eventually it'll pay off. Because if you're gonna have to sit through the practice anyways, might as well try through it. Don't give up and just waste your time there. So.
And then the gratifying thing, it definitely is. It is a difference. It's a special feeling, especially for wrestling, because, like you said, it's not a sport where you don't really have teammates out there with you while you're competing to pick you up. And I think for me, a lot of it, I'm a person of faith, and I think just being able to give like glory to God and what I believe in, and it just being grateful for the opportunity, even if I win or lose. I think that's a big part of the sport itself, and just being able to be the best you can be.
Yeah, I like what Hunter said. I feel like it definitely makes you more proud of yourself as well, because at the end of the day, it's you and the other guy on the mat. That's all it is. But I also like how he said, basically, you got to put your faith somewhere else. And you can only control what you do. You can't control what else happens, what the other guy does, and all that sort of stuff. So I really like what Hunter said about putting your faith somewhere else, and it's just all on you. It makes you proud at that point. So
obviously winning a state championship is the highest accomplishment that a high school athlete can really do. I mean, there's no other bar to set, but the great athletes find new goals and find new bars to set. Hunter, obviously you're moving on to the next level. Keegan, you got one more year. what's the next goal? How are you guys kind of resetting the bar and keep continuing to challenge yourselves heading forward into your careers?
Yeah, I think moving into college, especially one like Kent State, where I'll be wrestling against the best of the best. I have goals of qualifying for the national tournament and possibly even placing down there. That would be another huge dream because it's a very hard thing to do, especially when you get to college and everybody's a state champion and the best. And there's also a couple tournaments coming up in the off season before our real season starts, where I'll be wrestling some of the best kids in the country there. And I just want to be able to prove to myself here in the next few months that I can compete with even the best guys in college.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no other way to put it, but next goal I have for wrestling is definitely, gotta be a two-timer. I feel like it's going through all of our coaches' heads, my parents' heads, and definitely a lot of people around here. And it's obviously a hard goal, and not everybody gets to do it. There's a lot of one-timers and people who, just have a couple good kids in their bracket, whatever, that end it. So, just going to do my best to work as hard as I can next season to hopefully become the school's first two-timer now.
So with this rounding out the end of the year here, Keegan, especially with you say you're having a hard time choosing between football and wrestling. As a wrestling coach myself, I always hear, I'm going to lift for football. What do you think wrestling has done for you to help you with football? And I would say, Hunter, with you, how about life? How has wrestling helped you with life? Can you guys expound on those things?
Well, definitely for football, wrestling's definitely made me more, I'd say mentally focused a lot. Wrestling takes so much discipline, and it gets you in it's a whole different level of shape for wrestling, especially after football season. I think I'm ready for wrestling, and I'm not. So wrestling definitely, it gets me, I don't know, gets my feet moving. Just wrestling is literally on a different level of sports compared to other things. So definitely gets me more disciplined in football. Listen to my coaches, just follow the drills we're doing, and just let them work. So.
Yeah, and the wrestling to life thing, I think it's definitely taught me a lot, especially in when you're wrestling at a high level and competing at a high level. If you get taken down or something goes wrong, like can happen in life, and it happens in everybody's life. If you get taken down or go to your back, you have to just keep building back up. You have to build your base, and then you have to build up and get an escape. And then you have to work on to keep attacking and keep moving forward. And it's almost the same principles that you learn from wrestling, just that aspect. And then if you go and apply it to your life, then I think you're going to have a very successful life. And the discipline, like Keegan said, the discipline that comes with wrestling, definitely, if you can take that discipline, like the cutting weight, all the extra things, the mental focus, and if you can go apply that to like your career or your future, it definitely sets you up to have a very successful life.
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Congratulations on the state championships. We were rooting for you all weekend. We'll continue to root for you throughout your career. We wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, and we can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
You got it.
Thank you.
Hunter Andel, Keegan Sell, both joining us live here on Running Point. Great interview, Gary. I don't think there's a better way to close out the interviews for Wrestling Wednesdays. Those two were just so well spoken and such great athletes.
Yeah, that was a great interview. I really enjoyed that. And you got two kids that, like you said, they're well spoken. They weren't shy about giving their thoughts. They were both happy too. Mm-hmm. They both had smiles on their faces, and they were really glad to talk to us. I love talking to kids in general, but when we get them on this show, I just love the honesty that we've heard from everybody, and these guys were no different. So, yeah, let's hope that we can end every year talking to a couple state champs on the last episode.
We've had all three of our state champions have been on Wrestling Wednesdays. Dom Hofarth won his second in a row, but we've already had him on the show. So we figured we'd talk to the two from Garfield. But we had 3 state champions this year in wrestling, Gary.
Yeah. It just goes to show you Northeast Ohio is a very well-respected portion of the country for wrestling. Hunter, he's from a Division III school, so that's the smallest division in wrestling, and he's going to wrestle for a Division I college. That's I think we kind of take it for granted the kind of wrestling that we have around it. We have some really high level wrestlers around here, guys that are going to D1. Maybe other than football, because there's so many different. There's got some of these college teams got 80 guys on their football team. So I guess there's a heck of a lot more spots or more opportunities to go to a Division I football team. But I would be hard pressed to say that other than football, what other sport in this area do you see so many kids going to the next level and on a high level there? I would say there's nobody other sport even close, if you ask me.
Gary, do you know offhand how many scholarships a wrestling program in Division I college wrestling gets?
Yes, they get 9.9.
Okay.
So that can be split up any way the school deems.
Football gets what, like 12, 18, something like that? I mean, not everyone on that roster is scholarship players.
Oh,
obviously.
no. They get way more. And that's the thing that some of the top programs like Penn State's the best college wrestling program in the country. And this run that they're on, it's an amazing run, only topped by some of the teams from the 50s and earlier from Iowa State. But their guys split their scholarships up, and some of them will even volunteer to do it to get other guys to be able to come. So, Penn State's not cheap, especially if you're an out-of-state kid. If you're coming from somewhere other than Pennsylvania, I wouldn't. That bill is not cheap. So if you're coming with a high price tag to start with, and then you don't get a full ride, it's really a selfless thing to do. And a guy like Keegan, he's going to probably have he's probably going to have a chance to do both. I don't know much about him as a football player.
He's a beast.
Probably an animal. I'm sure he plays on the defensive line or a linebacker position.
Plus, running back on offense and so hard to stop. I think he had over 1,000 yards this year for the backfield, and that Garfield offense that is just all run the ball. He gets a lot of work. He's a workhorse on the backfield, and then he's a linebacker in the defense. So he's a two-way player.
Yeah, and so you got guys that are good at both. They have to make a choice sometimes. Do I go football or wrestling? But if football is offering you a full scholarship, it's hard to pass that up. So there's so many things about wrestling that make you a better person. The tough choices you have to make, the sacrifices. And I can't tell you how much I loved their answer when they were talking about wrestling. When Keegan said, "I don't like practice. I don't like practice." Hunter says, "We don't even have a wrestling room." So you got a guy that doesn't even like to go to practice every day. He wins a state championship. And both of them are doing it in an elementary school gym where they got to roll the mats out. So there's no padded sides, I'm imagining, where they're rolling these mats out.
Right. No.
But it's not going to get hot so that they can cut weight really easy. They're doing it just because they love the sport so much that even though they don't like going to practice, they love wrestling, they love winning, they love what it teaches them about life. That the sport is worth it. And I wish more kids would kind of take that mindset and give it a try, because there's a lot of kids that play football and do well and then do nothing in the winter, and then they go run track or play baseball in the spring. They would just give wrestling a chance. They would be such better athletes all around, and they would learn a lot of lessons about life along the way.
I think that's a great lesson in life. No matter what, whether it be athletics or media, whatever you're going in life, there are going to be aspects of your job if you are at the highest level, if you want to be at the highest level, and those two obviously now are with state championships. There are going to be parts that you don't like. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be parts that make your day kind of, oh man, I can't practicing in the elementary gym and practices not being the best, but they still do them and they work hard at them, and obviously it's paid off with the state championship. So being able to do work when you don't want to, that's the difference of a champion versus a loser. Is this everyone? It's easy to work when you like it, right? Yeah. But how easy is it to work when you don't like it?
Yeah, give me a break. I like it being in my comfortable bed, but I get up out of it every day and go do things I don't want to do. And I swear there are times in life now, even as a grown man, where I will sometimes think back to practices when I was in high school about thinking, just like they said today, about how bad it sucked. Wrestling is hard. And to prepare for something hard, you got to do something harder. So prepare for that 6 minutes. You've got to go 2 hours a day and embrace the suck. And once I start thinking about how whatever I'm doing as a regular person, stacking firewood or doing this or moving furniture or whatever I'm doing, it's not as bad as wrestling practice. And then my mind reshifts and I'm like, yeah, this isn't that big a deal. And I've sucked up a lot harder things in life than I will, and even more serious things that don't have to do with physical labor, just
Right.
like in general. It teaches you so many things.
Gary, we had other wrestlers down in Columbus that might not have won a state championship, but still really performed well. A lot of placers, a lot of people on the podium, both boys and girls. Why don't you go over some of the state results and some of the wrestlers that you thought really did well in Columbus this weekend?
Okay, I'm just going to start with Division III. As a team, Garrettsville Garfield finished the highest of the YSN schools. They finished in 7th place overall in Division III, and South Range was number 18. Of course, we had Hunter and Keegan were state champs. 2nd place was Dallas McCracken from United. That was a little bit of a surprise for a lot of people. He was on the top half of the bracket, and some other guys were down on the bottom half of the bracket, and then there were some upsets. He come through, won a couple close matches, and was able to get to the final to get a runner-up finish there for Kenny Beaumarriage and his staff there. I know they're really excited about that. Congratulations to them. 4th place, we had 2 South Range guys, Tyson Seaschultz and Chris Colucci. Both were able to finish in 4th. Colucci went to the semifinals and lost a tight one there, but they had a good finish as usual. In Division II, Louisville finished in 10th place overall, and of course they had another state champion, Dominic Hoffarth. We had him on a couple weeks ago. He kind of cruised through things. I think he won his finals match 6-1, and that was the closest match of the weekend for him. He must have been laser focused. He got another gold medal around his neck there. Louisville also had Dylan Rhodes, who finished in 3rd place. And then Howland had a 4th place finisher in Adam Heckman at 126. At 5th place, we had Fielding from Jefferson area, Sherrar from Canfield. And then we had 2 7th place finishers, Bobby Buhite, another kid we've had on the show. And then I believe a kid's name, Barker from Louisville. Louisville had several placers there. Division I, I don't think we had any placers in the network. There were a couple of qualifiers that we talked about last week, but there weren't any that was able to place. I know Mark Stankrub from Austintown, Fitch, he won his first match, and the second match, I think he lost it overtime. Had he won that second match, he was guaranteed a 6th place spot, but he wrestled really well. I'm sure he'll be back next year to make some noise. And then on the girls' side, we had 4 girls that placed in this first ever OHSAA sanctioned state tournament. There's been 3 previous tournaments that were sanctioned by the Ohio Coaches Association, but United Girls finished in 10th overall. The highest finishers was Michaela Newland and Dakota McCracken, both finished in 3rd place. Lexi Beadle was 6th. Austin Brown for United was 4th. And then Karam, I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correct, the only wrestler from Warren Champion was able to finish in 3rd place as well. So lots and lots of good things coming this weekend from Columbus in all 4 divisions.
We were talking about Olive Crumb from Champion, got pinned in her first match and then pinned her way to the 3rd place finish.
Yeah, and they there was an award at the OVAC tournament they used to call the Ironman Award, where anybody who lost their first match and then came all the way back through to win and get a 3rd place, they would call them Ironman, because that's a grind there. That is not an easy thing to do. And she got pinned, so I'm guessing she probably got caught. She probably got put in a awkward position, or was thrown. So to be able to fight back, I believe that's 5 wins in a row. 1, 2, 3. It'd be 5 straight wins.
5 straight pins too.
Yeah, she pinned everybody. She really was on a tear there. So congratulations to her. That was not an easy 3 days, but she made the best of her opportunities.
I mean, that had to make her think how close she was to a state championship. I mean, you take away that first match where you get, like you said, you might have got caught in an awkward position. It might have just been one of those fluke things that happens in a wrestling match. But if you take that away, you imagine 6 pins straight.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was another girl that we had talked about earlier in this season. Speaking of that OVAC tournament, was Haley Snyder from Warren High School. She was able to get her another state championship. She is 4 for 4. As far as I know, she's a 4-time state champion. She won the first 3 with the Coaches Association, and she won this weekend. So congratulations to her. And there was another girl. Her name is Josie Davis, and I don't know the school right offhand, who was going for her 4th. And she lost, I believe, in the second round, the quarterfinals, I think, or the semis, but was able to battle back for 3rd. So as of right now, I believe Haley Snyder is the one and only 4-time girls state champ in Ohio history.
And Haley was favored to in her own weight class in that OVC. She was one of the top seeds, and a lot of people were just thinking that she might win that overall. Obviously, she didn't get to win that in her weight class in the OVC, but a state championship, I'm sure she'll take that right to the bank 4 in a row.
Oh yeah, I don't think she cares too much, about not winning that OVAC tournament, because I don't believe that she was healthy for that tournament. I talked to some of the other coaches, and she had been sick a lot during the season. But she got a pin, then she had a major 15-4 decision, then another pin in 46 seconds, and then she won 7-1. So she went right through. She was the top seed, and that's a great career that I think a lot of girls are going to look up to her. And Lexi Beadle, unfortunately, had to wrestle her in the quarterfinals, but was able to battle her way back to get a state place there with Boardman.
Yeah, that's impressive, and it's a great first year of girls wrestling in the OHSA sanctioned sports. This is kind of the last week. It's episode 13, but a lot more weeks than that, because remember, we took that hiatus during Christmas break. What are some of your reflections on this wrestling season as we kind of wind down the end of Wrestling Wednesdays?
It was another season. It was long. It was a grind, like they always are. I got to see a lot of great wrestling, like I always have. I would just say takeaway is that what we talked about a little bit ago is that there's still a lot of great wrestlers around this area, and I'm starting to see growth in the sport in certain ways, especially with the girls. I think it's just such a great thing that now that they have this state tournament and official recognition, I think that it's going to continue to grow. I think that the numbers were up by like 30% from last year for how many girls were entered into regionals. So I think that we're going to continue to see that number climb. There were, I believe I counted 600 total schools in Ohio that have wrestling. At least one wrestler entered into the sectional tournament. It's great to see. The more schools that add wrestling, the stronger that the sport will get. And on a personal note, this year was a year that I took a chill pill personally. I still can't help but get a little bit worked up and anxious before matches and during matches, but I took a lot more calm approach to things this year, and I soaked in the experience and the kids this year. I had a lot of fun. I had a good time with it, and I tell you, maybe someday when I don't get anxious and I don't get nervous, is maybe when I'll know it's time to hang it up. But right now, I still love being around the kids, and I still have so much respect for the sport that I'm glad I'm a part of it.
Butterflies are your body's way of telling you care about it, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Don't get nervous if you don't care. Scotty, I know you love picking Gary's brain. This is your last chance to do it, buddy. So what do you have for Gary this week?
Yeah, Gary, I just wanted to know. I've learned a lot from you during this I've learned a lot about more about wrestling, and I've become a fan of it. Um, a bigger fan than I even was. I think our first show I asked you about the movie Foxcatcher, but I just wanted to know, for fans just getting into it, or the younger people out there, kind of like what I talked about in our interview with the state champions. Um, what do you think as far as going forward? Um, into the next wrestling season in 2024, what's one thing you're really looking forward to the most? And for people new to wrestling, what do you think is a key thing for them to the number one thing to stay focused on and pay attention to?
What I'm looking most forward to is just being around the kids. That's what I like the most. They all, they're all, individuals. They all have certain things about them that make them great. I just like being around them, getting to know them. And wrestling, I feel like it's different. It's a little bit different than basketball, where you're practicing, but Tuesdays and Fridays you don't practice because you got games. Sometimes you got games on Saturdays. Or football, you practice Monday through Thursday. Thursday's the walkthrough. Friday's the practice. Saturday you watch film. Sunday you're off. With wrestling, you spend so much time together, where really it's Monday through Friday you're together, and then all day on Saturday. I'm talking 12 to 15 hours. You spend so much time with each other, with your coaches, with your kids, that you really get to bond with them. You really get to know them as people. So I just every year I look forward to that, to having the kids, to seeing them, to learn about them, and to just hopefully help them, in as many ways as I can. For your second question, what would a new fan look for? I think first, appreciating the sport for what it is and how hard it is really puts you in a different mind frame when you're watching the sport. This weekend is the College National. This is a really great weekend to watch wrestling, because you're going to see it at the highest level for folk style wrestling that you will be able to see. And there are some great storylines. So realizing what these guys have went through to get to where they are, the grind that it's taken. In college season's longer than high school. It's probably another month, and then they practice all year long. So these guys really, really know how to grind. Appreciating how hard it is for them to do it, get to learn some of the storylines. The national tournament is always exciting. It's so exciting. It's the best wrestling tournament of the year, obviously, but it's also the most exciting one too. So tune in this weekend. There'll be, I believe, ESPN will have pretty much every single match on. Find a local kid that might have graduated from a school near you and cheer them on in this national tournament. There's plenty of them there, and that'll be a good basis to start from. And maybe and start next year with your local high school. Start following them, rooting them on, because I tell you, the kids appreciate every single kid that comes and roots them on, because we don't get the limelight that basketball and football does.
All right, wait. We're talking about everyone talks about the basketball tournament this week, and obviously it's the wrestling tournament as well. Gary, real quick, you're our wrestling expert. Is it Penn State's to lose?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't see how anybody's beating them. They've got the best coach in the country. They've got the best recruits in the country. They're actually down this year from where they were in the past. I mean, there was a 7 year period where they were so much better than everyone else. It was just stupid. But Cale Sanderson is the head coach. He was an undefeated college wrestler, and he might be a better coach than he was a wrestler, because he gets his kids. Yes, he gets the blue chip recruits. They all want to come and wrestle for him, but they also overachieve. And there are guys that have come up that were freshmen with him who were just, I thought, man, this kid's not that good. And now they're looking for their second national championship. They improved so much over some of the other teams and the other schools, the grade schools, like with Iowa. Their guys are just they grind more than anyone. Their practices, I can't even imagine what they are. Those guys run and lift and wrestle so much all the time. They have the best gas tanks in wrestling. They never get tired. The Ohio State guys, they're not known for having great gas tanks, but they're just overall really solid top to bottom. Oklahoma State guys are very, very technical, but none of them can touch what Penn State has. And whatever Cale coaches, he gets his kids' minds in the absolute perfect spot to where they just go and they continually overachieve. And I think nobody can argue, I would say, or anybody that knows him would be able to confirm that his mindset must have been perfect for him to be able to accomplish what he has as a wrestler and now as a coach.
Is the college tournament set up like our high school one, where you'll have champions, but then the team scores that make you a team champion?
Oh yeah, yeah. So there are 10 weight classes from
Right.
125 to heavyweight. So there'll be an individual champion each one, and then there'll be a national champion overall. And I think it's Penn State's to lose, and probably Iowa will be right up there as well. But I don't know how Oklahoma State will be familiar faces everywhere, but I think it's Penn State's to lose, and I don't know if it was last year, a couple years ago that Penn State was supposed to be down, and they won half of the weight classes were Penn State guys. So who knows? We might see that again.
Well, excited to watch that on ESPN this weekend. Gary, that's a great way to kind of wrap up our second season of Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Althiser. 13 episodes that we were able to have. Like I said, though, the season is a lot longer than that because we took I think a 3-week hiatus during the Christmas break. We thank you so much. Scotty already said it. We have learned so much about wrestling. I was telling you guys off the air, I was writing the story for Garfield State Championships, and I was like, I know what this word means. And I was a lot more confident writing about wrestling than I was maybe 2 years ago. So you've taught us a lot. You taught the YSN family a lot, and you have enhanced the area's coverage of wrestling. I don't think it would be as good on this show without you on it. So thank you for all your time and all the stuff you do for all the wrestling kids in the YSN family. We had a different school covered for all 13 episodes. We had 13 different wrestling programs featured on our 13 episodes of Wrestling Wednesday, and that wouldn't happen, I don't think, without your ability to bring a lot of stuff into these interviews. So we thank you for all that, and we thank you for all your time that you put into not just, of course, Wellsville Wrestling, but wrestling across the YSN family.
Hey, I thank you guys so much for letting me do this. I'll do this as long as you'll have me. And I know the community appreciates it, and it's just another way for these kids to get recognition because they just don't get a lot. They don't, but they deserve it. And I think that we saw the smiles on. Of course, you're going to be smiling when you're a state champ, right. But hey, they wanted to talk too. So I appreciate you guys doing this, and I'll be here as long as you want me.
We'll come back with season 3 next winter. But for now, we'll have to say goodbye. 13 episodes. It was a great season. Gary, you're always welcome to stay on for the last remainder of the show. As we take a commercial break, be back with more on Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.